Hello all. Good evening. Well, I have so much to tell you. Let me put on my little Vicky's Hallelujah light. There you go. Usually I spend about 5 minutes telling you about something I'm thinking about or feeling or watching or dealing with. I can't do that now. There's nothing other than I want to tell you about chapter 4. So many of you, the response to this story, your messages are incredible. I told you from the beginning that this book, Hospice Stories, was stories, 24 stories. My book were chapters, one story, different chapters. But you're relating to these chapters differently because they're different stories, and some of you are absolutely picking up on where I'm going with this. At the very end of this story, chapter 4, you will know everything about this one chapter and this man and my relationship with him that you'll need to know. So I'm going to just read. I'm not going to interject stuff. I need to read this story to you so you feel it. So I'm going to back up where we were. I was going to the care center for my shift, and it was a warm night. It was a beautiful night. It was very breezy, and the rooms, the balconies, the doors to the rooms were open, so there was a breeze coming in and some light. And so when I went there and I went in the room, I noticed that the only light coming in was from the patio. And so I knocked on the door and I entered his room. The room was only from the patio, and the room was tidy, clean, simple, and homey. It was the hospice room. At first, I didn't know if it was a hospice room or it was a hotel room. I mean, it was just perfect. Now, here's where because I want to finish this chapter. It's so amazing. So it's repetitive. It's a little repetitive from yesterday, but if you want to know the end, you're going to have to stay with me. Because of the darkness, I did not see the man tucked neatly under the covers in bed. I went over to put a small table lamp on when he said, "Hi, ma'am." The other reason why I didn't see him in the dim light was because his skin color was very dark. I said, "You startled me. I didn't see you there. Were you playing hide and seek with me? It was so dark in your room that you blended in nicely. My name is Susan and I'm a volunteer. Can I get you something?" End quote. He hesitated at first as if he didn't want to intrude on my time or inconvenience. Then he said, quote, "Would you please shut the doors and put another light on? I really don't like the nights. The darkness frightens me." "Sure," I said. "Want the air on too?" He said in a soft, weakened voice. "No, I'm okay. I like it warm." I put another light on and he said, "Thank you, ma'am." There was a peaceful air about him that made me comfortable, and I liked the way he called me ma'am. He had a soft southern accent that made me feel special. He was wearing a beige knit cap on his hairless head. His large brown-framed reading glasses were resting comfortably on the bony bridge of his nose. There were several pictures on the tables, some with children and others with adults. A single red rose was half opened in a white vase, while a few bananas continued to openly ripen on a plate. A pretty coffee mug that said, "Get well soon," was filled to the brim with chocolate kisses. The silver heart-shaped balloon tied to a chair read, "We miss you." I was so interested in the personal things that it took me some time before I realized that he was all hooked up to all sorts of machines. He had monitors, IV bags, and tubes coming in and out of everywhere. I said, quote, "Do you think you have enough gadgets to play with? You've been through a lot, haven't you?" End quote. He laughed and said softly, quote, "Yes, ma'am." His lips were parched and dry, and I didn't know if he had the energy to eat or drink. But I said, quote, "I just made a fresh pot of coffee with a lot of caffeine to boost you out of your bed. I spiked the cookies with extra chocolate chips, too," end quote. Well, you would have thought that I said you were well enough to take that cruise you've always wanted to go on. His face lit up, and he grinned from ear to ear. He said, quote, "Yes, ma'am, I'd like a few cookies." And that was the title. Caregiving comes in many forms, in many ways. And for this man, it was all about his love for chocolate chip cookies. He could, how could something as simple as offering someone a cookie have made him so happy? Jeff, I can't explain the feeling I had when I heard his words. A few minutes later, I wrapped 3 chocolate chip cookies up in a napkin. When I went to give him the cookies, I realized that I didn't know where I could put them. He could not sit up, and I could not rearrange his tubes, cords, and machines. Seeing my dilemma, he said, quote, "Please put them on my stomach," end quote. "Okay," I said, "but no crumbs in bed, or we'll discontinue the midnight snacks," end quote. I placed the napkin with the 3 chocolate chip cookies, on his belly on top of the blanket. He devoured the first one. I said, quote, "Well, we are friends now. Chocolate does it every time. Would you like some company? I could stay and visit for a while," end quote. "Yes," he said. "Will you bring me some more if we run out?" "Oh, yes," I said. "As many as you want." That's where I stopped yesterday, but I wanted to give you a little background about this man and my relationship now with him. I pulled the white wicker chair over, and you'll visualize it. That's what I want you to do. Visualize my stories. You don't know when you might be that other person on the other end of that chocolate chip cookie, and someone nice is going to come in and say, "Can I give you something?" I pulled the white wicker chair over and lowered the side rail of the bed. We didn't talk about very much, but that didn't matter to either of us. He just wanted some company and a couple of chocolate chip cookies. I was just sitting there hoping that he would ask for more. We were only together for about 30 minutes, but we had something special that made us both feel good. We were 2 strangers who bonded over a few chocolate chip cookies, and we were giving care to each other. Remember, I did say that. You give care to each other. Jeff gave care to me, I gave care to him, and together we gave care to each other. Give care to each other. Then these few minutes would not affect the end results. But how this man lives until the end is what I cared about. The cookies changed nothing, but they made all the difference in the world to us. I went back to the care center a week later. Remember, I was there Monday nights, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays. You couldn't get me out of there. I went back to the care center a week later to see how he was doing. When I knocked and went into the room, I could tell by his smile that he was happy to see me. The tubes had been removed from his body and the medical equipment taken from the room. His beige baseball cap and dark glasses were just as they had been a week ago. His condition had gotten much worse, but he was still aware of what was going on around him. As I came closer to the bed, his smile gave way to a giggle. Quote, "Hi," he said. "Ma'am, do you have any more of those chocolate chip cookies?" End quote. Hi, Angie. As I came closer to the bed, his smile gave way to a giggle from a week ago. Quote, "Hi," he said. "Ma'am, do you have any more of those chocolate chip cookies?" End quote. He was grinning from ear to ear. I was smiling back at him with tears in my eyes. I took his hands in mine and said, quote, "You remembered. You remembered." In the most sincere and appreciative voice I had ever heard, he said, quote, "Of course I remembered," end quote. Now I'm going to say this lady, all she does is read stories and cry. Well, you know what? The next story is about crying, so I cry. I cry a lot. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry for you. I can cry for somebody else. I had tears, and if I couldn't shed them, I wouldn't. I said I wasn't going to interject, but I did. "Ma'am, do you have any more?" A week later, I went to see him. All the tubes and the medical equipment had been taken off of him and out of his room. His beige baseball cap and dark glasses were just as they had been a week ago. His condition had gotten much worse, but he was still aware of what was going on around him. As I came closer to the bed, his smile gave way to a giggle. Quote, "Hi," he said. "Ma'am, do you have any more of those chocolate chip cookies?" End quote. He was grinning from ear to ear. I was smiling back at him with tears in my eyes. I took his hands in mine and said, quote, "You remembered." In the most sincere and appreciative voice I had ever heard, he said, quote, "Of course I remembered," end quote. It was an overwhelming experience, and I started to cry. I was relieved knowing that I had to go and get the cookies because I needed some time to compose myself. I found a white paper napkin and wrapped 3 chocolate chip cookies up in it. When I got back to the room, I placed them neatly in the middle of his stomach, as I had done the week before. As I sat stroking the sweet man's forehead, he told me over and over again about how simple and easy his life had become. I stayed with him until his pain medication took effect and he fell asleep. Tonight, he didn't eat the chocolate chip cookies. They just rested on his stomach as if they had found a home. Those chocolate chip cookies just rested on his stomach as if they had found a home. One day, I would go back and his bed would be empty, but I will never look at a chocolate chip cookie the same way again. And 25 years later, these were in 1998 when I documented, didn't put them together, but document. I still, to this day, when I smell a chocolate chip cookie, or I look at a chocolate chip cookie, or I go into the bakery or supermarket and I see chocolate chip cookies, this little man's hat, glasses, voice, I hear and I see, and the delight he got, and how he remembered me. He remembered. It had taken me a long time to understand that there is a sense of order in life and in death. When I hear grieving relatives and friends use the words like weak, raw, numb, and vulnerable to express how they feel now, all I can do is try and reassure them that they are strong and courageous, and that they will work through their loss in time. Hear me here. When I hear grieving relatives and friends to this day use words like I am weak, I am raw, numb, and vulnerable to express now how they feel, all I can do is try and reassure them that they are strong and courageous, that they will work through their loss in time. But while their loved one is still in their life, just a simple touch, a gentle caress. I'm a mess right now if you don't know it. I am a mess. This story was a really good one. I hope a whole bunch of you, I hope a dozen of you, 2 dozen, I hope 70 of you are crying in your soup right now. All I can do is reassure you that you are strong and courageous, and you will get through this time, this loss. But while their loved one is still alive, while your loved one is still alive, just a simple touch, a gentle caress, and the warmth of flesh on flesh can make all the difference in the world. A simple act of kindness can make the heartache a little more bearable, the memories a little more beautiful. The human touch is a powerful energy force that binds people together through the good times and the bad. I am glad that I was able to give care to a beautiful man who shared a few chocolate chip cookies and his life with me. What is the difference between giving care and giving care? Nothing. Let me turn that one around, my era. What is the difference between caregiving and giving care? I did a whole chapter on this. What is the difference between caregiving and giving care? Nothing. There is nothing different at all. Dearest Jeff, we gave and received a lot of both during our 25 years together. And I thank you for letting me take care of you. And I thank you for the many tender acts of kindness you gave to me. And chocolate chip cookies were your favorite ones too. I'll say so long for a little while. I love you, Susan. Did you grasp what I'm saying to you? I also want you, tomorrow night we're going to go into chapter 5 about the daughter who thought she was crying because she was weak, but the opposite. She was crying because she was strong and loved. I always said also that I don't like people speaking about people in the third party when they're still alive, because the sense of hearing is the last sense I've been told it goes. So if you are with someone who is very ill or passing, transitioning, don't talk to them as if they're gone. Say their name. Talk to them. They're here with you. They're still here with you. You are blessed now to have phones. With me, I talk to you every night on a phone. You have computers, you have laptops, you have every device imaginable to talk to someone in the present if you really can't be with them. COVID, the last couple of years took that warmth away from people and their loved ones. That's sad. I had my Jeffrey for a long time and was able to spend his last few days and hours with him in our home, in our room. Don't be sad for me. I had him. Be sad for the people, if you're going to be, or yourself, that you couldn't say goodbye the way you wanted to. But always treat that person like they are still here. And you talk about them as much as you want. If someone says, she's always talking about her late husband, or she's always talking about, you talk about them as much as you want. And if people don't like it, you know what? Let them leave the room or put earplugs in, or that's it. You do whatever you want to grieve, to feel sorry, to miss, to do whatever you got to do to go forward. And don't you let anybody tell you, because again, that simple act of kindness with a stranger made all the difference in the world. Do you know when I always say be kind, be more patient, call someone and tell them you care? Do you realize the profound effect that can have? A very, very good friend of mine upstairs, Gail, on the 4th floor. COVID brought us together. She lived on the 4th floor, and I'm on the 1st, and she'd see me sitting outside my condo all the time. And we'd get to talk, and didn't realize her birthday one day. We were having dinner. I invited her in for dinner. I know she worked in a doctor's office, and she was safe, and we were masked and gloved. But I had her in for dinner. And she, loved the way I talked. She said I could listen to you talk. I said, well, that's the first, that's not the first time I heard of it. It's not one of the things most people will say. But she said to me in her birthday, it so happened, I said, when's your birthday? She said, May 4th. I said, sure. I said, that's my birthday. I said, what year? Just silver hair, beautiful woman. She said, 1946. I said, Gail, that's when I was born, May 4th, 1946. I mean, I've lived here 17 years. God planted this beautiful, tanned, white-haired woman on the 4th floor who has the same birth date. She never had a sister. I didn't know from my sister. That was it, and that was God bringing two women together, and we have shared a lot in the last couple of years. So you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know how your life's going to turn out. She said a couple times to me, but the first time she said it pertains to this story, chapter 4. Some of you have both books. You're smart. Committed to Love, and I held her hands with a hospice heart. Smart, Angie. Smart. She said, don't take my kindness for weakness. Don't. Kindness is kindness. That doesn't mean you're weak. Don't ever take someone's kindness for weakness. Hear me clear? Short reading tonight, but it was only seriously perfect read. I thank you all. Your comments. I know a lot of you don't want to pour out your hearts on my Facebook comments page because there we share it with the World Wide Web. So you are messaging me some incredible messages, how certain stories in this book you're relating to, how certain chapters in my book you're relating to, and all I do is sit here and tell stories. God bless you all. Thank you. I will say shalom, hello. I'm not even going to grab my face anymore. Somebody said, you have a beautiful, I have to tell you this, it's so funny. Somebody said today to me in my last physical therapy appointment, yay! So they said to me, God, you have such great color. I said, you sit at the pool all the time? I said, no. I said, a couple of days a week I sit outside and get the morning sun outside my condo, but I've been really blessed with great skin. I said, I just wish God would have given me some better joints, because the years of athleticism have really taken its toll. However, I said, I tell people the wrinkles and these character lines come from some of the most magnificent beaches in the world. My forehead is definitely from Hawaii. The many times Jeff and I went there. Thank you, Hawaii. The left side from all those wonderful times in Mexico. Lots of those. This is just for miscellaneous trips in the sun. But my face is exactly what it looks like to spend almost your entire life on beaches with wonderful memories, having wonderful margaritas, walking the beach and watching sunsets, and I wouldn't trade one wrinkle at 76 for my memories. That's as honest as we can get. So I'm not going to say, shalom, hello. No. Shalom, hello. What a great night. Shalom, goodbye. And shalom, peace. Don't turn on the TV tonight. Don't turn on your computer and watch what's going on. If you think my stories are a little bit rough, toots, what's on TV, my stuff's nothing compared to the real world you're living in. Be kind, be a little more patient. Thank you, Angela, and a few other people who are on, which I don't know. But call someone. Tell them you care. And if you don't want to call them, fine. Text them. It's so impersonal and cold. It's fine. I love you too. We got a lot more stories. We only did 4. You've got 20 more to go through. Please have your Kleenex available. And please remember the next time you look at a chocolate chip cookie, the little man who loved them, and the lady who brought them to him. The chocolate chip cookie. I hope you never look at a chocolate chip cookie the same way again. God bless all of you. I hit finish.